The majority of people are aware of the Crusades, but they are unaware of their causes and consequences. The main 8 Crusades are explained in this list. Later Crusades took place, but they were much smaller and had little impact, thus they are not included in this list. Welcome to The Amazing Facts. Stay tuned. The top 8 Crusades Explained. Subscribe to our channel for more videos. The Crusades were a series of religious battles in the medieval period that were started, supported, and occasionally commanded by the Latin Church. The Crusades to the Holy Land, which took place between 1095 and 1291, were meant to liberate Jerusalem and its environs from Islamic dominion. Concurrent military operations against the Moors in the Iberian Peninsula and pagan West Slavic, Baltic, and Finnic peoples in Northern Europe were also dubbed Crusades. Europe was split at the time of the Crusades into states whose rulers were embroiled in small territorial disputes. The Seljukian Turks were gaining dominance in Jerusalem at the time, and Europe saw this as a threat to the pilgrims' safety and the survival of Christendom. Jerusalem was conquered in 1070, while Diogenes, the Greek ruler, was defeated and imprisoned at Manzikert in 1071. The Turks preyed on Asia Minor and Syria as a whole. Antioch fell to the Christians in 1084, and by 1092, none of Asia's large metropolitan sees remained in Christian hands. Number 8. The First Crusade. Ambassadors dispatched by Byzantine Emperor Alexius I requested assistance in defending his empire against the Seljuk Turks at the Council of Piacenza in March 1095. Later same year, at the Council of Clermont, Pope Urban II urged all Christians to join a fight against the Turks, promising pardon to anyone who died in the army. Crusader soldiers defeated 2 large Turkish armies at Dorylaeum and Antioch, and marched on Jerusalem with only a fraction of their previous force. In 1099, they stormed Jerusalem and established the Kingdom of Jerusalem, a minor Crusader state. Number 7. The Second Crusade. Muslims captured Edessa during a time of relative peace in which Christians and Muslims coexisted in the Holy Land. Various preachers, most notably Bernard of Clairvaux, advocated for a new crusade. In 1147, forces headed by King Louis VII of France and King Conrad III of Germany marched on Jerusalem but failed to achieve any important victories. Both leaders had returned to their own countries by 1150, but to no use. Number 6. The Third Crusade. Saladin, the Egyptian Sultan, conquered Jerusalem in 1187. King Richard I of England, Holy Roman Emperor Frederick I, and King Philip II of France joined Pope Gregory VIII in calling for a crusade. They overcame the Muslims near Asaf and were within sight of Jerusalem when they were defeated. The crusade, however, came to an end without seizing Jerusalem due to a lack of food and water. Following a ceasefire with Saladin, Richard fled the following year. The King's Crusade is another name for this crusade. Pope Gregory VIII died before the crusade was completed. Number 5. The Fourth Crusade. Pope Innocent III launched the Fourth Crusade in 1202, with the goal of entering the Holy Land via Egypt. Doge Enrico Dandolo enlisted the Crusaders to restore the Christian city of Zara to obedience. Because the Crusaders lacked the means to pay for the fleet and provisions they had contracted from the Venetians. Due to a scarcity of resources and time remaining on their vessel lease, the leaders decided to travel to Constantinople and attempt to install a Byzantine exile on the throne. The Crusaders sacked Constantinople after misunderstandings and outbreaks of violence. Number 4. The Fifth Crusade. The Church attempted to launch another crusade with processions, prayers, and preaching, and the Fourth Council of the Lateran developed a plan for the return of the Holy Land. A crusading troop from Hungary and Austria joined forces with the King of Jerusalem and the Prince of Antioch to retake Jerusalem in the first phase. In the second phase, Crusader forces accomplished a tremendous success in the capture of Damietta in Egypt in 1219, but under the urgent orders of the papal legate, Pelagius, they launched a foolish offensive on Cairo, forcing them to choose between capitulation and destruction due to a Nile inundation. Number 3. The Sixth Crusade. Pope Gregory IX excommunicated Emperor Frederick II in 1228 after he frequently promised a crusade but failed to carry it through. Despite this, he took ship from Brindisi, landed in Palestine, and won surprising victory through diplomacy. Jerusalem, Nazareth, and Bethlehem were given to the Crusaders for a 10-year period. This was the first crusade without the involvement of the Pope. The excommunication was subsequently lifted by the Pope. Number 2. The Seventh Crusade. In 1243, the Templars' papal interests sparked a dispute with Egypt, and the following year, a Khwarezmian force summoned by the latter attacked Jerusalem. At Al-Fawbi in Gaza, the Crusaders were pulled into conflict. Bibar's troop of Khwarezmian tribesmen outnumbered the Crusader army and its Bedouin mercenaries, and the Crusader army and its Bedouin mercenaries were entirely crushed in 48 hours. Many historians believe that this conflict was the death knell for the Christian states. Louis IX organized a crusade against Egypt as part of this crusade, which lasted until 1254. Number 1. The Eighth Crusade. In 1270, Louis IX launched the Eighth Crusade, which sailed from Agas Mertis once more, originally to aid the Crusader states' remnants in Syria. The crusade, however, was redirected to Tunis, where Louis died after just 2 months. Louis was later declared a saint for his efforts. This crusade is frequently split into 2 halves, the 8th and 9th. This crusade resulted in the loss of Christian sovereignty in Syria, while it was somewhat successful in allowing Christian religious to live peacefully in the region. The Crusades had a huge impact on Europe during the Middle Ages. Much of the continent was united under a powerful papacy at times, but by the 14th century, the development of centralized bureaucracies was well underway in France, England, Burgundy, Portugal, Castile, and Aragon, owing in part to the Church's dominance at the time of the Crusades. Despite the fact that Europe had been exposed to Islamic culture for centuries through interactions in the Iberian Peninsula and Sicily, considerable knowledge in fields like science, medicine, and architecture was transferred from the Islamic to the Western world during the Crusades. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Subscribe our channel for latest notifications.